Namaste, my friends. It's your boy Crypto Gurkha, and welcome to the second episode of Walk the Talk Season 3 in Tel Aviv around Starknet sessions. For the second episode, I've got my friend Sean from Starkscan. For this particular episode, I tried something new. I asked a couple of devs if they would like to know something about Starkscan or if they've got some questions I should ask. Which questions you ask? Well, stay tuned, and here's the intro. So, namaste guys, hi. As mentioned, today we've got Sean from Starkscan here. Thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me.
You guys are one of the sponsors of the event, Starkware Sessions.
Yes.
How is it? How has it been so far for you?
Yeah, it's been amazing. You know, it's so great to finally see all the people we work with in the ecosystem. So it's great to finally meet in person. So it's been a great experience so far.
Cool. Awesome. So I guess without further ado, we'll start the walk the talk.
Sure.
So guys, this is a special episode. I've got some community questions, a lot of community questions, especially from developers, but I'll ask them in the later rounds of my questions. So generally speaking, Sean, what are you building? What are you doing?
Yeah, so we're building a Starkscan, which is a Starknet block explorer. And I think we offer a lot of things that, you know, are done new on Starknet. So I think that's very exciting.
So what's the difference between you and Etherscan, for example?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. So Etherscan obviously is a Ethereum block explorer, right? And we're a Starknet block explorer. I think there's a lot of unique features on Starknet that sort of differentiates us. I think the biggest part is account abstraction and the fact that Starknet is a rollup.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the nuances is that because wallets are programmable essentially, that when you look at what's happening on the blockchain, everything goes through a wallet contract before going to the final contract. So that poses a lot of different challenges for a block explorer. And I think in terms of rollups, whenever you bridge funds, right, you want to know when the funds are arriving on the other side of the bridge. And those are some of the unique features that I think Starkscan does really well. And Etherscan just doesn't support because they assume there is no Starknet in existence. So I think that's really what makes us unique.
I mean, Starknet is quite relatively new in the crypto world, so to speak. Do you have any philosophies for new users in terms of Starkscan, how they can basically read a transaction in this case?
Yeah, I think as a user, what matters for a user mostly is the transaction time, right? Like when I run a transaction, I want to know when it's going to finalize or when I receive my funds or when I send funds to other people. And that's why we have a timer in Starkscan to sort of show an estimated time of when that's going to happen. In terms of reading data, I would say probably, yeah, like I said, it's the status that matters the most, right? Because you want to know when transactions finalize.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's probably the most important thing. And I think in terms of philosophy, I would say always think of security, right? Security is the most important thing for users. And I think that's why a lot of the wallets actually are focusing on that with, hardware signers or multi-signature, and that really protects users from using Starknet.
So you could say you're also focusing a lot on user experience with
Yes,
the timer.
for sure.
Okay, interesting. But as maybe most of the audience don't know, maybe they do. Starkscan has been used a lot by developers in
Yes.
the Starknet ecosystem.
Absolutely.
So this time I've got questions from the developers, as mentioned.
Yeah.
So the first question would be, which tool do you use to index data?
Yeah.
Is any company benefiting from this indexer? And
Yeah.
what is indexer exactly for the non-technical users?
Yeah, so basically what indexing means is you're gathering data to put it inside your own systems. For example, Google is indexing the web, So what that means is Google is looking all over the internet for web pages, and then so they can store it inside their systems, and so they can serve it to customers whenever you do a search on Google. So we do something very similar, except we do it on the blockchain, right? We don't do it on internet web pages, but we do it on the blockchain. What that means is we extract data from the blockchain, we put it in our systems, and then we visualize it for developers or users. Right? So that's what indexing means. I think in terms of indexing infrastructure, we actually built our own custom indexer. When we started in the Starknet ecosystem, there wasn't indexing solutions for us. Now we have like Checkpoint, and we also have Apibara, but because when we started there wasn't any solution, we sort of built our own custom indexer.
Okay, interesting. Thank you very much for the explanation.
Of course.
Next question from the community is, will you make it open source? Starkscan, I assume.
Yeah, of course. So I don't think we will have plans to open source our indexer, but I think we will make our data available through an API.
Okay. Let's take a seat here. And
sure.
can you verify contracts? If so, is it possible to interact directly via Etherscan? I'm so sorry, I said Etherscan in my head.
No worries.
Via Starkscan.
Yeah.
And could you explain what that means?
Yeah. So you can interact with contracts on Starkscan. So you can do read, so you can read data from Starkscan, and you can write, so you can change the state of the Starknet blockchain as well. So you can send transactions with Starkscan. So you can do both of these things.
Okay, cool. And this is, I think, the most technical question.
Yeah.
Will you support multiple felt inputs for contracts that take felt array input?
Yeah.
And could you briefly also explain what does that mean for non-technical users?
Yeah. So when you are when you're reading data from the blockchain, they're gonna ask you for inputs, right? Sometimes they'll say like, oh, what's the wallet? Let's say if I ask the blockchain, how many funds does Bob have, right? So one of the inputs would be Bob's wallet address, right? So you would have to input the wallet address. So that would be one of the inputs as a very simple example. And we do support that on Starkscan, so you can add inputs so you can get the proper data. And even if you want to do a write, so what that means is you're changing some state on the blockchain. For example, I'm transferring some funds, right? I have to change what's happening in the future state of this chain, which means that in the future you're supposed to have some funds that I transfer to you. So that would require some inputs as well, and the input would be like, what is your wallet address, right? Like how much funds should I transfer you? So those are examples of inputs from a read and a write perspective, right? Write is like you're changing something, read is you're just reading data, and you can do both of these things on Starknet. And I think what a felt means like one sort of data that you can input, and we do support that. An array of felts is like many sort of inputs at once.
Okay,
And we support that as well. So the way you do that on Starkscan is via commas. So you would say like one input comma, another input, and you can chain in a list essentially, and that's what arrays mean.
Okay. So for the dev friends, you've received your answers here from Sean himself. And I guess with that being said, that was my last question. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
And I'll put in all the information required. Do you have documents per chance, which I could also share?
Documents, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Then I'll share it down below as well. Thank
Sounds
you very
good.
much, and goodbye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.